perhaps around late August, according to him. Now questions arise as to whether President Obama's push for sanctions could even work. Listen to this.
The sanctions that were passed by the Congress this last week will have some additional impact. It could help weaken the regime. It could create some serious economic problems. Will it deter them from their ambitions with regards to nuclear capability? Probably not. And we think they have enough low-enriched uranium right now for 2 weapons. They do have to enrich it fully in order to get there. And we would estimate that if they made that decision, it probably would take a year to get there, probably another year to develop the kind of weapon delivery system in order to make that viable.
Some disturbing news coming out over the weekend from the director of the CIA, no less, Leon Panetta. Joining me now is Jim Walsh, international security expert with the MIT Security Studies Program. Jim, it's always good to have you here.
Good morning, Martha.
Good morning to you. Let's deal with this first issue first, which is, Leon Panetta basically talking about the sanctions and saying, they may make a dent in their economy, but they're not going to stop them from pulling off a nuclear program.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I found some satisfaction in that when I saw that over the weekend, because that has been my position as well. In other words, we can impose costs, but at the end of the day, Iran has to make a decision itself whether it's going to pursue a nuclear weapon or not, and that seems somewhat to be up in the air. That's something that also Director Panetta addressed. But the only way you're going to stop it is if they come to the negotiating table and there's some sort of agreement that says, we're going to allow inspections, we're going to handle the program in a way that gives us confidence that it's not going to be misused. But sanctions are a part of that, but we spend 90% of our time talking about sanctions. They're really only about 10% of what's going on here.
Yeah, but Jim, when you look at the past, neither one of those things has led us in the right direction, not sanctions and not inspections. And it raises the question about what would really need to be done to make it very clear to Iran that the world is just simply not going to tolerate them as a nuclear nation.
I hear you, Martha. I think actually the track record on negotiations isn't that bad. You'll remember that in 2003, the EU negotiated with Iran, and Iran suspended that program for 2 years. And it's the inspections that are critical to tell us what's going on. Leon Panetta referred to that low-enriched uranium. That's all under safeguards right now. So if Iran just says, I want to build a nuclear weapon tomorrow, it will have to kick out all the inspectors, which will give us a red warning flag that tells us that action has to be taken. So I think the inspectors are actually pretty important here.
I hope you're right, Jim, and you know a whole lot more about this than I do. But whenever I hear that, oh, well, they have to enrich this certain amount, it's going to take them this long, it feels like the next thing you hear is that there's some other secret underground nuclear facility that we didn't know about before. So it gives me no confidence that our intelligence is good enough to really have a handle on what they're doing.
Well, Martha, you're right. I mean, you're probably referring to that Qom facility that was revealed at the back, I think, in January. The word there, though, is that we knew about that facility, but we didn't let anyone know that we knew. We were watching it all along. Iran is probably the most looked at, watched country on earth. It's a little easier to watch than North Korea. And we have, from what I understand, pretty good intelligence about what's going on there. Now, that doesn't mean, you're absolutely right to say, as Don Rumsfeld said, you don't know what you don't know. And so you should always be cautious. We're never 100% sure. But I think we have a pretty good beat on this program. And I think it's safe to say that they are some distance from having a nuclear weapon. They are too close as it is, and we need to change the direction that they're going in. But we still have time to work this problem.
All right, how do we change the direction that they're going in, is the question then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of it is sanctions, but again, that's not the whole story, even though we all talk about it as the whole story. Part of it's negotiation. Part of it is political isolation. The fact that the Russians, the Chinese, and the Europeans are all with us. The Iranians hate being isolated politically. They hate that worse than they hate the economic sanctions. So I think it's a combination of things.
Excuse me for interrupting. There was a strong tone from Medvedev about all of this. And I think a lot of folks really question Russia's commitment to this. They sell them defense equipment all the time in Iran. So you wonder whether or not they're talking out of both sides of their mouth on this issue.
Oh, I think that's an excellent point, Martha. The Russians have gone back and forth. Now, I think the last thing they did in that last sanctions resolution, probably the most important part of that resolution, was the Russians agreed not to sell the S-300 missile system to Iran. I think that was a very big move. But you're right. I mean, I think they're a fair weather friend. you can count on them only as long as you can count on them, and it wouldn't surprise me if they shifted position again, 6 months from now. But while right now they seem to be on the team, and that is a welcome development.
All right, it is. Jim, many thanks. Always good to get your thoughts on this, sir. Have a good day. We'll see you soon.